Hello aspirants, looking at current affairs for 17th July. The news items picked up from the Hindu newspaper are these 13. We'll look at them in detail. The first one, government panel to study cow derivatives. So this is regarding a 19-member panel which has been set up by the government, and this panel is headed by the Minister for Science and Technology, Mr. Harshvardhan. So this is the panel to study and scientifically validate Panchgavya. What do you mean by this term Panchgavya? So these are concoctions of 5 products which are derived from cow. Gavya means cow. 5 means from Panch. So this is cow dung, cow urine, milk, curd and ghee. So these are said to have nutritional value even for health and for agriculture as well. So looking into its contribution in nutrition, health and agriculture, this will be a body, a 19-member panel, which will scientifically validate these benefits of Panchgavya. So this is a panel setup. Even members from Vigyan Bharati, which is an RSS affiliated organization, are there in this 19-member panel. Even IIT scholars are also up here. You can see IIT scientists from IIT Delhi are part of this. The government has given this project the acronym SWAROP, Scientific Validation and Research of Panchgavya. So you should know about the term Panchgavya specifically. What is it? So here you can see these are the 5 elements: cow curd, cow dung, cow urine, cow milk and cow ghee. So these are considered to have health nutrition benefits, plus also are useful in agriculture. So scientific validation of this traditional knowledge is what is being proposed to be achieved. Then the next news item is 17 Amarnath pilgrims die after bus falls into gorge. So this was a disaster which struck this bus which was carrying Amarnath pilgrims. It is the 17th day of Amarnath Yatra. We have already seen about Amarnath, the cave shrine of Lord Shiva. So the Shivling made of ice is revered here, and this Amarnath pilgrim members actually met their death on their way here in this accident. So 17 pilgrims including 2 women were killed and 27 others, 8 of them minor, were injured. It was a sharp curve where the bus lost its control. Then the next news item is flood situation grim in South Odisha. Army Air Force help sought. So this is regarding incessant rain and flooding which has been seen in Odisha's 2 districts prominently, Raigad and Kalahandi districts. Thousands of villagers have been cut off because of the flood waters here. So even Indian Air Force 4 helicopters have been requisitioned for airdropping of food packets as well as to rescue the people here. So here even the National Disaster Response Force will come into action. So specifically with respect to disaster management, you should know about NDRF, the National Disaster Response Force. It has been established under NDMA, National Disaster Management Authority. So it's all these institutions, NDMA, NDRF, have been established by the Disaster Management Act of 2005. So this Disaster Management Act calls for institutional mechanism, that is setting up of National Disaster Management Authority, State Disaster Management Authority and even the District Disaster Management Authority. Even the National Disaster Management Authority is chaired by the Prime Minister himself. Same SDMA is chaired by the Chief Minister. Then there is this National Executive Council and State Executive Council also established for implementation of provisions under disaster management, and the National Disaster Response Force has also been established. So this is there. Then the financial arrangement which has been made. So there are funds, National Disaster Response Funds, State Disaster Response Funds and District Disaster Response Funds also established. Then there is even a Disaster Mitigation Fund. Also, one is for response and another is for mitigation. The difference between response and mitigation is that response is post a disaster and mitigation is steps taken to ensure or to limit the consequences or adverse effects of a disaster. So mitigation efforts are taken before the disaster strikes so that the consequences are not as adverse as generally seen. So there are these mitigation and response funds established at national, state and district level. Then in capacity development, there is National Institute of Disaster Management which has been established. So this is regarding NDMA, which is chaired, as I said, by the Prime Minister himself. So he is the chairman of this council, which is headquartered in Delhi. So it mandates and lays down the policies, plans and guidelines for disaster management from time to time. Then this is regarding disaster response force too. These are the flood prone areas in the country. So we are presently seeing flooding. The news presently is of Orissa. Earlier we have also seen of Assam floods affecting the state here. So these are the flood prone areas in the country. So this is also called disaster mapping. You should have a map and idea about what kind of disasters are dominant, and then you have to take steps accordingly for mitigation of that disaster as well. So this is the flood prone zone shown in India. Then this is regarding NDRF, National Disaster Response Force. Presently there are 12 battalions. The 10 which are shown here, 2 more have been established. So you can see there are 3 each from Border Security Force and Central Reserve Police Force, which have been formed as National Disaster Response Force battalions. 2 from CISF and ITBP respectively too. So CISF is Central Industrial Security Force and Indo-Tibetan Border Police Force. So these 10 battalions are shown here. You can see which ones are from BSF. So Border Security Force, as we know, is across the border as such. So here, then this is Indo-Tibetan Border Police. Then CISF, CRPF is shown here, you can see, and CISF is here, Industrial Police. So these are where these battalions headquarters are also located. And 2 more which have been added have been taken from Sashastra Seema Bal. So this is the 2 more additions which have taken place. One is Arunachal Pradesh and another one is in Varanasi. Then the next news item is liquor ban in Bihar hits TB diagnosis. So you already know about liquor ban which has been brought in Bihar in 2016, but now there are concerns being raised regarding TB diagnosis being affected because of liquor ban. So in TB diagnosis, there is this test called smear test which is done. So for that, ethyl alcohol is required, and the scarcity of alcohol in the state has resulted in these tests, smear microscopy, as you can see. The reagents and absolute alcohol required for them being scarce. So TB diagnosis has been affected here, and because of which the authorities in Bihar have also intimated the Union Health Minister. So Union Health Minister has written to the State Health Department seeking special exemption for procuring and using alcohol and spirits for this diagnostic services. So this is the news here. So you can see it is required even for cleaning purposes. So cleaning of plungers on a monthly basis also requires this alcohol as a surface disinfectant too, it is used. So this is regarding another aspect of alcohol ban. And other states where alcohol is banned, you can see here, Gujarat, prohibition has been in force since 1948. Nagaland and even Manipur have brought in total prohibition. It's called total prohibition. Prohibition means ban on alcohol. And Lakshadweep is another union territory as such where alcohol is banned, and Kerala, which announced this policy in 2014. Then the next news item is gloom at Sri Venkateshwar Zoo as 3rd animal dies. So this is regarding Sri Venkateshwar Zoological Park in Andhra Pradesh. So here within a week we have got news of 3 animals dying. The latest one is a 9-month-old white tiger cub. So this was having pre-existing genetic condition because of which it had a kidney failure and it succumbed to it. So the white tiger cub has died recently. Even before this, a lone giraffe which was there in Sri Venkateshwar Zoological Park called Suvu, he died due to a traumatic shock, and even a rescued lioness Champa died because of old age. So this Sri Venkateshwar Zoological Park of Andhra Pradesh is also known for its captive breeding program. So it has these animal rescue centers also and captive breeding programs. So these animals are also conserved here, taken care of, and this is a tragedy which has struck this zoological park presently. It also has safaris. It has lion safari, deer safari. It also plans to have white tiger safari soon. So again, it's important because you should know about various national parks and sanctuaries in the country. Questions are asked on this. This is actually undivided Andhra Pradesh. So Sri Venkateshwar Zoological Park lies here. This is Pulikat Lake of Andhra Pradesh here. And this is the divided Andhra Pradesh shown here. So this is the Telangana state as such. So here also the wildlife sanctuaries as such are shown. The Koringa Wildlife Sanctuary here, a prominent one. Then the next news item is Guardian UAV deal with US still a work in progress. So this is regarding Guardian Maritime Surveillance UAV. So this is of USA. unmanned aerial vehicle of USA. And USA has given approval for sale of 22 such Guardian surveillance UAVs to India. But India has said that we are evaluating the options available with us. So this is significant because USA, it is said, does not provide such high-end defense equipments to any partner, but only to close defense allies of USA. And India, as we know, last year, US Congress has conferred major defense partner status on India. So that is the significance attached to India as well shown here. But then India already is using UAVs and we have acquired them from Israel. So these are operational in the Indian Navy presently, Israeli male UAVs. That is medium altitude long endurance UAVs. And we are keen on acquiring high altitude long endurance UAVs too. And since Israeli equipments are what we are familiar with, working with them for maritime surveillance purposes, we would be preferring them. But then USA has also given us an opportunity to acquire its Guardian UAVs is the significance here. So here you can see this is the Guardian unmanned aerial vehicle for maritime surveillance. And these are the UAVs as such with us. So for small and micro purposes, we have Netra, indigenously built too. Then we have low endurance, low altitude, low endurance, then medium altitude, low endurance UAVs, which we have. Then we have high altitude, long endurance UAVs as such. And then comes high altitude, high endurance, long endurance, but low observable UAVs. So these are the stages based on altitude too. Then the next news item is release of GM Mustard faces another hurdle. So this is about NAS, National Academy of Agricultural Sciences, which is a 625 member body comprising of agricultural scientists from across the country. So the NAS president recently in May 2017 wrote to the Prime Minister endorsing DMH11. So DMH11 is GM mustard, genetically modified mustard, which has been developed by Deepak Pental, an agricultural scientist from Delhi University. He is also a member of NAS. So he has employed genes from soil bacterium to develop this GM variety of mustard, DMH11. And if this is approved in the country, then this will be the first transgenic edible crop to be grown in the country. So this approval has already been provided by GAC, Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee of the Environment Ministry. And we had seen in news, it is the Environment Minister's endorsement which is awaited. So the minister himself will also endorse the crop. But then the minister has stated that he would wait for the Supreme Court's approval on this, because there's also a case going on before the Supreme Court. So this is the status as such of GM mustard. And now the news is that another fellow of NAS, Mr. PC Keswan, has disagreed with NAS endorsement and has written another letter to the Prime Minister, even saying that GAC is riddled by conflict of interest. It has cleared DMH11, but it is also, we have seen in news also and even in articles, that the data is insufficient and there has not been complete evaluation done of DMH11 from all perspectives. So this accusation of conflict of interest is also placed on GAC. So this is a government endorsed initiative which was taken and DMH11 was developed. So here you can see DMH is a hybrid variety of mustard which has been developed by crossing a traditional variety of mustard called Varuna with an East European variety. So this is there, and already in the country we have only one genetically modified crop which has been approved, and that is BT cotton. And the letter here of PC Keswan also speaks about the BT cotton experience, that though BT cotton occupies 95% of India's acreage for cotton, its yield is on a decline since 2006. So there is insect resistance also which has been seen with users of BT cotton, and the cost of producing cotton has also tripled over a period of time. So these are arguments put forth in this letter to the Prime Minister as such. This is regarding GM cotton, you can see, GM mustard, sorry. So this is developed by the Delhi University's Mr. Deepak Pental, and GAC has given its approval. This is an earlier image. So there is opposition because this is edible. People would consume it, and it is said that the consequences of consumption of genetically modified crop is not yet completely understood. The effects, consequences may be seen much later. So there are concerns associated with it. But however, the present government has said that we are for genetically modified crop, and even GM mustard has been endorsed, and this idea is endorsed because it will result in increase the yield. So increasing of yield is also one aspect, but that has been toned down for GM mustard too, because it has been shown that there will be no significant yield increase. Then the next news item is plea in Supreme Court seeks curbs on cryptocurrencies. So cryptocurrencies or virtual currencies, Bitcoins being the most famous of them, we have already discussed about them. They are not endorsed by any government. They are not controlled by any government. They are decentralized and peer-to-peer controlled. So that is how they function, and the use of these cryptocurrencies is gaining popularity now. So this is a petition which has been filed in the Supreme Court. So RBI has been issuing directives from time to time, warning people about the consequences of using cryptocurrencies to the hazards as such, because in India, cryptocurrencies are neither legal nor illegal. The government has to decide on this issue. We had also discussed one article about what are the pros and cons of legalizing or even illegalizing cryptocurrencies. So that is there, and now the Supreme Court has also been dragged into this. A petition has been filed. So it is asking now, Supreme Court has asked RBI to consider this issue raised by the PIL and take urgent steps to restrain the sale and purchase of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoins, because the petitioner says that these are anonymously traded, because the benefit of these cryptocurrencies, why they are popular, is that it ensures anonymity. So you can have purchase and sale done on the internet and it would not be known who is the buyer or the seller, where the exchange, amongst whom the exchange is taking place. So it may be used for anti-national and illegal activities too. There are fears of it being used for terror funding or illicit trade of arms and drugs, etc. too. So these are the concerns which have been raised in the petition. Plus also, over a period of time, when they become popular, this will result in an emergence of a parallel economy, a parallel currency as such too, and will have negative impact on Indian currency and inflation as such, because it will be a loss of control of the government on this currency. So the financial discipline as such will also become difficult then. So this is an apprehension which has been raised in the petition as well. Also, as we know that this is a currency which has no borders. It can be transacted without any border restrictions or geographical constraints as such too over the internet. So there are dangers, the petition says, to the integrity and sovereignty of the nation as well. So this is now the Supreme Court hearing this matter. So this is a cryptocurrency, digital money which is created through a code. We have seen everything about this in detail just few days back, about data mining as well too. So here you can see this is the details shown, and the famous cryptocurrencies, the first of the cryptocurrencies brought in the market was Bitcoins. The others which are becoming prominent now are Ethereum and Ripple too. Then the next news item is RBI to press for rupees 8 lakh crore NPA resolution, non-performing assets resolution. So we have already seen that the Banking Regulation Amendment Ordinance was issued, or rather promulgated by the government. The term for ordinance is promulgation. So this ordinance was promulgated by the government recently, and since then RBI has been armed with special powers for resolution of NPAs. So it has been expected that RBI will push for resolution of bad debts up to rupees 8 lakh crore by March 2019. So this is an ASSOCHAM report which is speaking about it, and this is regarding the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, the legislation which has been brought out by this government in 2016. So these NPAs, which are a huge drain on banks and especially the public sector banks, which has resulted in them being hesitant to further loan as such as well. So further credit is not being made available as such too. So here the financial health of the banks as such will be improvised by them being able to remove these bad loans from their balance sheets. So presently they have to make provision for bad loans. So because for bad loans the payment is not coming through, they have to make provision out of their profits. So though it is said like 27 public sector banks collectively have made an operating profit of 1.5 lakh crore in the financial year 2016-17. But after allowing for the provisioning for bad loans and among other things, the net operating profit has come down to only 574 crores. So this is the consequences of NPAs on public sector banks, and that is why steps are now being taken. So you can see fresh corporate lending is also not taking place because of this status of NPAs. So we have already seen RBI had conducted this 16 months of asset quality review. So in this asset quality review, it dug out all these NPAs because banks are reluctant to show that these are NPAs, that these are non-performing assets. So first of all, there was an asset quality review exercise done by RBI, which ended in March 2017, which had started in 2015 itself. So this March 2017 exercise, after it got over, 2016, sorry. So it started in around, it was a 16-month exercise as it says. So it started in the end of 2015 and it went on till March 2017. So this, all the NPAs have been brought out from the closet as it is said. And now what is required, once you know that this is the disease, entire disease as such, now bitter medicine, the report says, is required to heal the system. So this bitter medicine has come in the form of this ordinance promulgated by the President in May 2017, giving more powers to the RBI, and the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code as such too, which is making provisions for how NPAs have to be resolved. Because what happens is when banks try to resolve these NPAs, non-performing assets, because these are lending to the corporate sector. So if then special provisions are made for them to ensure, like, you know, the loans are rescheduled or some such steps taken, or if the loan has provided is not sufficient for the business to continue, and maybe there is a little more requirement, so a little more loan may be able, and then the business will be able to repay the loan as well. So the corporate sector lending which is required in such cases, such steps can be counterproductive and banks become reluctant because later they see the oversights by various bodies like CAG, Comptroller and Auditor General of India, Central Vigilance Commission and CBI. They are called the 3 C's. The fears of these 3 C's make banks reluctant to take steps to help these bad loans turn back, that these don't become bad loans. So they had this, the action is not taken by them because later questions would be raised. So that results in inaction and the NPAs are what accumulate. So now because of these steps being taken, the RBI has been powered as such, and Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code has also been brought in. This will help the banks to overcome this reluctance and take the haircuts which are required as such too. So this is there. The other provisions which are there, like Joint Lenders Forum, also corrective action plan. So the decision making process for these have also been eased by the RBI now, after it has been given powers under the ordinance. So this will help in NPA issue be resolved. So this is regarding the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code of 2016. It's not 2015. It's 2016 when it was passed. It's a legislation passed by the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, the Parliament. So here you can see it's applicable to all kinds of corporate enterprises, LLPs, limited liability partnerships, partnership firms and individuals. So here you can see the scope is insolvency, liquidation, voluntary liquidation and bankruptcy. All would come under it. So what steps need to be taken will be decided as such. The timeline also we'll see is provided here. So there is a National Company Law Tribunal which has been proposed for corporate bankruptcy and Debt Recovery Tribunal for individual bankruptcy. It's mentioned. So you can see it will preserve the value of by providing linear, time-bound and collective process, improve the time taken to resolve the insolvency as such. So this steps you can see. So it's the code has been passed because it wants to speed up resolution of stressed assets in the country. Applicable to, as we just saw, all. The time frame, it has to be, the speeding up means it will be, the authority here will have to decide on insolvency application within 180 days. And 90 days extension can maximum be allowed. So this is there. So fast track process of 90 days is also available for specified entities. And then finally, if it's going for bankruptcy, then the adjudicating authority is National Company Law Tribunal for corporates and Debt Recovery Tribunal for individuals and partnership firms. The Joint Lenders Forum too, because we are seeing that corporate lending, when it takes place, a lender, a corporate sector entity will not take loan from only one bank. It will take loans from multiple banks. So then if the company suffers, then all these banks will have NPAs of this company accumulating. So there is a group of lenders. So there is a joint lenders forum initiative which has been taken. So all these lenders can come together and decide on what to do about this NPA because of this entity. So that's the idea of a joint lenders forum. So when the decisions, how the decisions should be taken in this, earlier it was said that decisions agreed to by a minimum of 60 creditors by value, sorry, as such 60 creditors by number, 60% of the creditors by number, and 75% of creditors by value will be required. So only if 60% by number and 75% of creditors by value give the approval for the steps which have been decided at the joint lenders forum, that step can be taken for NPA resolution. Now this has been diluted so that the decision can be taken quickly. So now only minimum 60% of creditors by value and 50% of creditors by number in the joint lenders forum, if they approve the restructuring plan, it will be implemented. But those who do not agree, if they want to opt out, they can opt out as well. So this is there. So this is regarding the joint lenders forum details also. It was established in 2014, this provision for having a compulsory formation of joint lenders forum mechanism if a special mention account 2 is being made. It means the non-performing asset as such, means the principal or interest payment is overdue between 61 to 90 days. Then it falls under special mention account 2 of the bank. So for such cases, it's compulsory to have a joint lenders forum mechanism established. This has been provided by RBI in Feb 2014. Then this is regarding recent insolvency and bankruptcy proceedings which have been initiated against top 12 defaulters by RBI as well. We have been seeing about this too. So this is that. Some of them are mentioned here, the defaulters. Then the next news item is IBBI notifies rules for bankruptcy probe. So this is regarding Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India, which has also been established by Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. So this will be implementing the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code as such. So it has brought out rules now. So the regulations which it had brought in earlier have now been further strengthened. We'll see that. So here the entire timeline as such is also given about how Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code was also passed. It was in May 2016 that Parliament passed this Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code as such too, which was provided in the report. The report had recommended for forming such a law. So this was the Bankruptcy Law Reforms Committee set up under the leadership of former Law Secretary T.K. Vishwanath. So this report, based on its recommendations, we had this bill and the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code was finalized in 2016. So under this only we have this Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India, which has been set up by the government. So this is IBBI, which is we are talking of. Mr. M.S. Sahu has been appointed as the chairman of this body as well. This is the regulatory body, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India. So this IBBI notifies regulations for insolvency professional agencies, insolvency professionals, corporate insolvency resolution process, and also rules for application of adjudicating authority under the bankruptcy code. So all these IPAs, insolvency professional agencies and insolvency professionals, are registered and enrolled with this regulatory body IBBI. So this is there, and as we saw under Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, the tribunals also established, National Company Law Tribunal, an appellate tribunal is also there, and the debt recovery tribunal which we saw. So these are also there. So the draft regulations were published by IBBI for public comments and they were finalized too in 2017. You can see here. Today what we are seeing in the news is that the rules as such have been notified by IBBI. So though the regulations have come forth by RBI, now these new rules which are coming forth are that the earlier what was said that authority, like these investigating authority means IBBI, will serve a notice intimating the entity concerned about the probe at least 10 days in advance. So this is the regulation of IBBI, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India, that a notice would be put forth intimating about an inquiry as such. But now it has stated that on grounds of apprehensions that the records of a particular service provider might be destroyed before the probe starts, the IBBI can do away with this requirement. It does not have to provide a notice intimating also, because there may be fears, apprehensions that the records would be destroyed. So this is the new rule which has been brought out by IBPI. So this is the news presently. So you can see the code has been operational. The insolvency and bankruptcy code which we just discussed has been operational since December 2016, and IBPI has also been established in September 2016. So this is there. Then the next news item is brick by brick, a home of your own. So this is regarding Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban. So this Awas means housing. So housing scheme is there in the urban areas. The government has provided this scheme, which is not just for the economically weaker sections and low income group, but also for the middle income group. So there are 4 categories actually. Even middle income group 1 and 2 are there under this scheme. So for based on your salary and the amount of loan which will be made provision for by the government is provided here. So the interest rates, lowered interest rates which are there are mentioned here. So many are not aware that this is also available for middle income group. However, presently we are seeing that many corporates are endorsing this scheme and asking their employees to avail this scheme. So that's what is written. A large number of corporate houses are now encouraging their employees to avail this scheme. The scheme is available till you can enroll under it till December 31, 2017. So this is the government aims to provide housing for all by 2022. So that is the scheme, housing for all by 2022, under which we have urban and rural component. And under this, the major component is credit linked subsidy scheme. So this subsidy which is provided is shown here. So here you can see the details provided as such too. So the annual income criteria which is there for economically weaker section, low income group, middle income group, and even second category, means even if you are earning 12,000 to 12 lakh to 18 lakh per annum, you are eligible under this scheme, and you can get a interest subsidy. You can see for each category, that is also mentioned, and the amount, maximum amount up to which it will be provided, and the tenure of 20 years which is there for this loan amount. The carpet area limit for each category is also mentioned. So these are the details of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban. Then the next news item is 2 states. Compliance can be a taxing problem. So this is regarding FATCA, Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act. So this is an act passed by US legislature, the US Congress, and under this act, agreements have been signed by various countries. Means USA has signed bilateral agreements with various countries. Even India-USA FATCA agreement has been signed in 2015, around August 2015. So this is USA's response to bring money of US citizens which is stashed in accounts abroad into the tax net. So that is the purpose. The way we want to bring the money, Indian money which is there in Swiss bank accounts and in other tax havens into the country or within the tax net, this is how USA is going ahead with it. So it is using this common reporting system and AEIO, that is AEOI, that is automatic exchange of information. So these are the provisions which have been made, as such, developed by OECD and G20 nations together, that how this common reporting should take place. So here this is shown here in detail, you can see. So India US FATC also came into effect in August 2015, and we have been providing for this common reporting system as such too. So the news here is actually about the compliance. So US citizens or even green card holders who are Indians, they are subjected to foreign income and asset reporting as such too. So they have to do that in USA. So this FATCA requires for India to give details about them. So how is that done actually is that all the banks, pension systems, mutual funds, etc., wherever they have their US citizens accounts as such, they have to give this detail to the Central Board of Direct Taxes. So all Indian banks, entities which are functioning here will have to give details of all US citizens to Central Board of Direct Taxes, which will forward this further to the Internal Revenue Services of USA. So that is how compliance is provided for, and plus the US citizen himself also has a liability to undergo compliance, that he also has to give details about his foreign income and assets. So this is the news regarding that this puts in an obligation on financial institutions to an individual investor also in India. So this newer reporting standards which have been introduced as such too, like common reporting system and automatic exchange of information, have to be complied by. Then the next news item, the last one is 3D printed functional heart made. So scientists have developed this 3D printed heart, which is made of soft silicone, which closely resembles and functions like a human heart only. It weighs around 390 grams and it has the right and left ventricle also. It's not separated by septum as such too, but there's an additional chamber which has been provided for, which inflates and deflates by pressurized air, and this can be used to help save lives of people who suffer from cardiac failure, heart failure. So this 3D printed heart has been developed. So the developments which are taking place presently and the scope of 3D printing is significant here. So what is this 3D printing all about? You can see. So you have an idea that you want to make some product, some entity. Even here it is the heart being developed. So you have to design it. That how should be the design? So you know the human heart design. You make a design on a computer program. That is called computer aided design, CAD design. So this design is developed. Then using a software, this design, 3D design is converted into slices, layers. So multiple number of layers together form that 3D object that way. So this printer software is used, and then using 3D printer, which is shown here, you print your idea into a reality. So this is the 3D printing process also shown. So the raw material which you want to use, this will be the raw material used. You can see this is the laser source which is used, and using this raw material, each layer is developed and then fused together, and you have the 3D object in place. So that is how 3D printing takes place. So using the computer aided design and the software, you can develop this 3D object. So this is 3D printing as such. So these are the news items. Thank you.